Andy Swan. Andy, thanks for joining us. Sorry about that technical issue.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
Maybe it's us kind of pushing back. We don't want to talk about rising gas prices because that's been a thorn in the consumer's side at this point. Just below record highs across the country. Nick and I here in Chicago feel the pain a lot more than you guys do, and most of the country for that matter. But what kind of sentiment are you seeing? I mean, we got oil back below $100 a barrel here today. That should help. Maybe longer term, but what kind of data you got here on gas prices for us?
Yeah, that is good news. You know, a little bit of relief looks to be on the way, at least according to the commodities markets today. But you know, at LikeFolio, we really try to track what's happening with the consumer mindset, and when we look at gas price concerns, so the number of people just talking about or complaining about gas prices. We see an absolutely unbelievable increase in this, up over 1,000% year over year, which just tells us, and really not dropping off of those levels. It's really having a major impact on the consumer wallet and the consumer psyche. It's something that people are talking about constantly. It goes right in line with people's fears around inflation, up over 500% year over year. And we're really seeing that impact consumer behavior in a big way. The number of people talking about driving less than they normally would or reducing the amount they're driving, up 333% year over year. And so really out of this, what we're seeing kind of three big themes emerge that we're starting to see evidence of. The first, I would say, travel companies and travel in general had a real snapback kind of demand that came from a built-up, pent-up demand over the COVID and pandemic and all of that we came into 2021 kind of ready to go, ready to hit the road, take that vacation that we'd put off maybe for the last couple of summers. But that snapback demand simply cannot be sustained with current prices. People are really, they got that first travel, that initial travel out of the way, and that's not continuing. So travel definitely getting hurt in a big way. Second, we're seeing a massive increase in demand for electric vehicles. This demand is skyrocketing, up 258% year over year. And that really takes time to filter its way into the market. People can't just go out and buy a new car really quickly. But in terms of people's next car, what they're talking about buying, electric vehicles dominating the conversation. And then third, I think ironically, these gas price concerns, these energy prices, could actually be doing the Fed's job for them. High energy prices can be just as impactful and even more so and more immediate than interest rates. And so I think there's a little bit of a self-correcting mechanism in here that could actually be giving the Fed a little bit of relief in terms of having to tinker with interest rates too much because the consumer's already getting hit in a pretty big way. So right now, those are the three themes we're seeing at LikeFolio. Travel down, electric vehicles up, and the consumer getting hit in ways that interest rates couldn't have even tried to attempt just a couple months ago.
Well, I got to say, Andy, of all of the analysis you've done, this you literally sounded like the conversation that my wife and I were having over the long weekend. It's like, so I think everybody's feeling this exact way. So I think to me, your research is spot on, and I think you're hitting a lot of those topics really, really well. So thanks for bringing that. What other factors, and I guess I'm thinking of food, but what other factors are you seeing that kind of play that role, from the Fed? You see gas and oil both down almost 9% today. But there's so many of these other commodities that are just so expensive. You're seeing issues in Ukraine getting wheat out of there, changing food prices. I mean, what other sectors are you seeing that are kind of pushing that story even further in terms of doing the Fed's job for them? Anything else kind of hitting those percentages that you're talking about with oil, or is this by far and away kind of the leader and outlier?
No, you've hit the second one. There's two. There's gas and energy prices, and then there's food prices. Those are the two things top of consumer mind. Those are the two things that you really can't avoid, to participate in society or to just stay alive. And so I think those two are by far and away the biggest drivers of an impact on the consumer's spending psyche as well as their wallet. And I think, we're really hopeful to see relief in both. I think there's some indication we might get it at the pump after what's going on today. But by far, those are the two drivers of this contrition in the consumer.
Yeah, hey Andy, and those are things besides wages. Food prices are one of those inflationary pressures that don't go away, right? People don't start cutting prices that they've already raised at this point. So that'll probably, create some more headwinds. But when you look at the trends that are going, Andy, in this particular space, are you seeing any pullback in that demand? We talked about the demand, the pent-up demand to travel, experience stuff, coming out of a pandemic. Everybody wants to do something. But restrictive pricing now, are you seeing anything in the travel industry, whether it's hotels, Airbnbs, flights, that people are starting to pull back on that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All of the above. I think that we kind of got used to a different way of taking a vacation during COVID and the pandemic. When I say we, I'm talking about the collective American people. We figured out that there's things to do in our local area. We figured out ways to make the most of restrictive situations. Now we have a new restriction, and that's the price of travel, whether it's hotels, air travel being probably the biggest complaint that we see. Those prices have simply gotten out of control to the point that it's taking people out of the game in terms of doing anything other than kind of staying local. So absolutely. I think it's an across the board phenomenon. It's not just what's happening at the pump. It's what's happening really to just get anywhere or do anything. Major impact on the consumer here.
Yeah, and TSA data, 2.5 million people passed through U.S. airport checkpoints just last Friday. So I'm curious to see what happens. We'll have to have you back talking about airlines in a couple weeks. If it drops off significantly after, 4th of July has historically been one of the stronger points, but I'd be curious to see if we start seeing some trends lower as far as sentiment data on air travel goes in the near term. All right, Andy, great stuff as always. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right, so Nick.
Thanks, Andy.